Hi, I'm Bob Roth, Managing Partner and Co-Founder of Cypress Home Care Solutions. Since 1994, we've been helping older adults in the Phoenix community age gracefully and safely in the place they call home. Since 2014, I've been bringing you Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, a show dedicated to helping you live a longer, healthier, and happier life. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Health Futures, and today I have a guest here that I've been meaning to get into the studio for some time. She's in the aging service world in the home care space that I am in, and she's been at this actually longer than I have, and it's really hard to believe. I'm in my 23rd year, and you're in your 23rd and a half year.
23rd and a half.
but without further ado, I want to introduce Ashlee Jensen, who's somebody I've gotten to know a whole lot better over the last 5 years, and we've served on boards and committees together. And Ashlee, it's so great to have you here at Health Futures.
Oh, I am thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And listen, we're here to talk about aging services, but more importantly, we're here to develop better leaders and stronger teams and more purposeful organizations. And we're going to hear from you about what you're doing on the coaching side, which is really interesting. But you know, your day job or your job that you've been doing for 23 and a half years is with Arion Care, and with Arion Care, you're the Director of Stakeholder Relations. What does that mean, by the way? I've seen a lot of titles, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, but Director of Stakeholder Relations?
I call it my butterfly role because I build relationships with external stakeholders and to look at ways to really optimize our relationships and to be a liaison between different bodies of just like the legislature and our different trade associations, and then also looking at ways to improve our internal stakeholders, our members, our guardians, their family members, our providers, and even our administrative employees, just ways to improve their experience with us.
I like how you define that. So there's so many people that are involved in that stakeholder continuum, if you will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was just reviewing the DES's HCBS application rule that they're amending, probably in response to what CMS is putting out there and everything. And I look at that through the lens of, who is this going to impact outside of DDD and outside of our organizational leadership and structure and processes and everything? How is this going to impact our members? How is this going to impact how our guardians and family members show up at the planning meetings? And it's just a major ripple effect of all the things, even though it's just maybe a switch of one word on the rule.
Well, it's interesting, and we talked about it before we started the show. It's the unintended consequences that we don't know about, so it gives you a lens to really take a look at it to see, okay, where are some of the shortcomings are, and how can we overcome them? Because there's, the thing I've learned over the years is that you have the controllables and you have the uncontrollables.
Right.
And as long as you can take care of the ones you can control, that's really, sometimes perfection is something we try to achieve, but very good sometimes is good enough.
Right, and just how to have loose knees and to be flexible with what comes and how to build resiliency within our organizations to expect and to withstand the changes.
100%. So Arion Care, just real quick for our listeners, could you give us a little bit of information? 23 and a half years. You do, home and community-based service work for our All-Tex population, our developmentally disabled population. Just a little bit about the company and what you've seen. I mean, you guys are one of the biggest players here in the community.
Sure, I'd love to. Orion's been around we were founded about 25 years ago. And our founder, Ryan Reed, just probably the most influential mentor and leader that I've had, and the most influential and just impactful leader I've had. And he has really shaped the way that I think about the leadership space and I think about problems and solutions and everything. And he developed Arion Care out of a necessity just for integrity, to have a company that's built off of an integrity that is really embedded in all of its decisions and actions, from the most simple to the most that one will have the most consequences, just that we're doing the right thing, that we're doing what's right for all of our stakeholders in our community. And we started off primarily with the developmental disabilities population and services. A few years into that, we expanded to elder care, in-home care, and a few years after that expanded into clinical services, primarily with ABA, both in clinic and in-home services.
Wow. And with Arion, you've served in a lot of different leadership roles. And certainly, we're here to talk about leadership. And, your professional journey, I would imagine at Arion has really shaped you and developed you into who you are today.
Absolutely. I couldn't ask for a better organization for these opportunities, because not only did I have the creative leadership of Arion, but I also have the stoic leadership of our current executive team, and it has really their example. I am so fortunate to be working with these incredibly intuitive and ingenious individuals who think so differently from one another, but together it's just a powerhouse. And their example really has paved the way and shaped how I look at all the systems and operations. I started off as an area manager. Actually, fun story. I worked in the HCBS realm with two other companies before I worked with Arion, and I was doing an intake with a new member at a previous company, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'll be your respite provider. Put me in, coach, put me in. And so that was when I started working with Arion Care. I started off as a respite provider while leadership roles at other agencies. And when Arion grew, I became an area manager and loved it, loved developing teams, loved helping develop policies and procedures and really shaping how Arion, the direction they were going. It's just a small mom and pop shop back then. I operated out of my house. I hired at my kitchen table with my kids upstairs with their babysitter. It was just a real fun family environment. And with the growth of Arion Care, as they started kind of building up their scaffolding and structure and centralizing different roles, one thing that I saw a need for was human resources. All of the teams were wearing all the hats because we were just so much smaller back then. But as we started doubling in size every couple of years, they trusted me to design and develop their human resources department. This was on the onset of COVID. I mean, they put me in right as COVID hit. And so we had that amazing opportunity to embrace remote work and to change how we were holding orientation and how we were recruiting and meeting with new employees and everything. So we really just made everything virtual and streamlined all the processes from there.
Wow. I mean, and really you were there from the inception, and how small you are, and to watch you grow so large, and certainly when I talk about leadership and you talk about culture, right? Through the COVID experience, and it's hard to believe it's 6 years now, almost 7, okay? How much of that did you keep afterwards? Are you a remote office now? Have you pared down the amount of people who are in the office? Because let's face it, our work is out here. It's not inside. I would love to know where you're at today.
It's interesting. I love COVID. I love the changes that it brought because
that's the part you love.
That's the part. I do not love the illness. I want to say that. Not pro-illness here.
Exactly. But you love what transformed as a result of this.
Right. I love the push initiative, that having to come up with all of these solutions to stay productive and to stay in business and everything that organizations needed to do. They needed to transform and to adapt. And so that really, when we have the change continuum, right? The bell curve, if you will, and across industries, every company has the late adopters. And this really pushed the late adopters to embrace our virtual tools and to embrace automation and everything there. But that doesn't come balanced. And so with 6-7 years, 6-7 is also my boy's birthday, my twin's birthday. So it's been on our mind all week.
And it's a term that the younger people use too, right?
I don't even understand it.
I
I don't either. It just rings in my ears.
Anyway.
And with that comes the need to kind of recalibrate and balance. And so we are seeing a bit of a shift from let's go technology, let's go all things automation to, oh, we really need to meet with our folks. We really do need to get back into the home and attend PCSPs and planning meetings in person and kind of show that we care in different ways.
I'm just so glad you brought that up. And I'm definitely going off script here. Because
Go off script.
Because look, this is something that, has been really challenging for me as well. And the fact is that, going remote, and let's face it, if COVID had happened in 1976, we didn't have the tools to be able to be connected. And thank God it happened when it did. I mean, like you said, no one wants a disease, especially a pandemic, but we had all the resources. I mean, we know that in the medical field, doctors, 20 to 25% had adopted using telehealth, and they were forced to use it because of COVID. So now we have over 70, almost 80% of the doctors are doing telehealth visits. And when we're talking about aging services, and you've got a 90-year-old or a 100-year-old, getting them to go in to see a doctor because you got to have them do some diagnostic testing because they're taking a blood thinner and you want to test their liver enzymes or whatever that is, you can do all that at home. And you can visit them at home.
Right.
And what it did for us to embrace tech and innovation is nothing short of phenomenal. But now I'm going to peel it back to leadership and HR and culture. How do we create culture in a virtual office environment? Because, look, we all remember the TV series The Office, right? And we've all been through those type of situations, at least for some of us that have worked with big companies. But, I had the big office. I don't anymore. And there are times I miss that because I had an open door policy and I could see people. I could see my bullpen, which were my schedulers. I'd have 3 or 4 of them out there, and I could tell what was going on. Now we're using a lot of tech and innovation. But for me, it's like, how do we keep culture? How do we keep employee, Jane, Doe and John Doe, how do we keep them engaged in our companies? And the same serves for our caregivers too, but I can tell you in 2026, our caregivers aren't coming to visit us like they were in 1996 and in 2006. So, I don't know if you have that solution, but certainly from a leadership standpoint, culture is everything when you're leading an organization. And I struggle with that at times. I mean, last night we did flower arranging as a team building at the Flower Garage. I'm going to give them a plug. But it was really cool. There was like 11 or 12 of us, and I never knew really how to arrange flowers. And it was a great fun activity, and I got a chance to get to be with a lot of my team members on a very different level, a more personal level. So I gave you a lot to unpack, but that's what I see today.
I think, let's unpack this a little bit. Moving to a more virtual, there are some things that just can't get replaced by automation or by tech, right. And that's our connection. And one thing that I notice with the hiring process or with anything, even with my kids when they're navigating tech with school and whatnot, which now they're helping me navigate tech, is the need for feedback. We don't have, if I'm submitting something and it goes into the ether somewhere, I need to get some type of visual prompt or sound saying, good job, Ashlee, you did it. You submitted this, you're in, right? Right. Because if I were walking into an office to say, hey, Bob, I'm turning in my application, I get a thank you, have a wonderful day. And that releases some dopamine. I'm set, I checked it off, I'm accomplished. And so we need to look at all of our processes to, are there checkpoints along the way, whether it's a human or whether it is some part of the automation that you did it, kid, you got this in. And humans, our supervisors and our leaders need to follow suit. We need to promptly respond, because what happens between me emailing about a problem to my supervisor and having the turnaround is all of my fears and all of my 44 years of experiences come emerging up like, oh no, what if I did it wrong? What if my hours aren't going to get in? What if this, what if that? I have an incredibly busy supervisor, but man, if they could just reach out to me saying, hey, I saw this. I see, which means I see you. It's safe. Everything's safe now.
100%. I mean, look, the tech world brings one thing for sure. It brings the concept of transactions.
Yes.
But when we are in the human business, because that's what we're in, and we're caring for vulnerable adults, and you're also caring for vulnerable children on the DDD side, and adult children as well, it's a relational encounter. It's not a transaction. And we have to remember that, and when we're talking about caring for vulnerable populations. And I think there are a lot of people out there that think they can fix everything by making it transactional. And I think that's one of the key lessons of our industry, and one of the things that we as providers really need to push back and say, you know, the relationship that we have with our clients and their families and our caregivers are so personal. You can't have a machine, an AI agent establishing those relationships. I mean, we're doing all the things you're talking about in our operation. I could, and I have a staff of 10 right now. I'm adding more people, but I could literally eliminate 3 or 4 people. But what have I done is I've redeployed them. We're making more frequent visits to our clients.
Right.
We are making more frequent phone calls to our caregivers. We're being relational, and that's so important. And as you try to establish culture, you need that relational piece.
Oh, definitely. One thing that really I taught for about a year at an online university, and I taught industrial and organizational psychology courses. My favorite courses, though, were the leadership courses. And because I heard it all for my students. And this is really what the tipping point was for me to go into leadership development. The most memorable slide for me in one of my courses was talking about skills development. Every organization's got the 3 levels, right? We have more of the entry administrative type level employees, then we have the middle layer management, and then we have our senior leaders. And the 3 skills that everybody must have, but the variance is how much do you need at what level? We've got the human skills is what we're talking about, the relationship skills, the connection, the compassion, the empathy, the trauma-informed approach, all those things that really fill in. They're all the nuances that fill in all of our transactions. Then we have our tech skills, which would be our job role. Like, I know how to do my job. I log in, I do this, I do that, whatever. I've got that nailed down. And finally, we have our conceptual skills. So at our base level employees, our administrative employees, they need to be top notch with those tech skills. They need to know their job inside and out. Human skills, yeah, I would say out of 10, we're reaching 5, 6, 7 there. And with conceptual skills, it's not necessary for them to be very high in conceptual skills because of all the nuances and all of the quirks and the moving parts to an organization. When we hit middle management, and this is my key target here, they are expected to be 10 out of 10 with human skills and still have a high amount of tech skills as they're supporting their own team and operations. And conceptual skills will start to increase there. With our top senior leaders, their tech skills can be way low because they don't have the brain space for the minutia like that. Their human skills can also dip down a little bit, but their conceptual skills have to be sky high.
Off the chart, yeah.
Off the chart. And as we bring in new leaders, or as we upskill and promote our entry-level employees, we're helping them with those tech skills, and we're helping them with the conceptual skills. But where many organizations fall is exactly what you're saying, those connective skills, those human skills and everything. And then we go through the gazillion changes that we've been through in this last 7 years, 10 years, 20 years, and so on. And adding all the task-based automation and whatnot, even though it relieves the tasks from our plates, we are expanding what we have to be masters of. We're expanding the leadership role, which in turn compresses how we process things.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's really interesting how these skills that we have today, they're so magnified, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because you can, what do they say, that you need to inspect the expectations. And today, with all this automation and all this tech, we get data, a lot of data.
Oh my goodness.
And data's everything. And the thing about the data is now you can inspect to see how people are performing, how the job is working out, how, a business unit may be evolving, because you got a lot of data now. And you can do that inspection that you couldn't really do before. A lot of it was gut.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And data is now communicating what we used to communicate and how we would express ourselves and express our experiences and what we were experiencing internally. And we don't have room for that anymore.
No, we don't. So I want to talk a little bit about leadership, and then we're going to pivot into something else.
All right.
How has your definition of leadership changed over the years?
Oh, my heart. Because I was made a leader when my first leadership opportunity when I was in my younger 20s. And I thought I knew everything. I knew nothing. I just knew how to be nice, right? And to have the phone call conversations and maybe how to troubleshoot.
And you want people to like you too.
Right.
But sometimes being a leader, that doesn't happen. Because you got to be able to tell people.
Oh, I'm the worst of that. Yeah. I am the worst. And I wish, two things I wish I would have done differently. I wish I would have had the wisdom and the depth to have a trauma-informed approach as a leader, where I could realize I was a bit egocentric and narrow-minded, where I thought if it worked for me, it works for everybody. And especially during the pandemic, it was, my mind shifted drastically to, if it works for me, that means something's wrong. And I need to expand my awareness and see what am I missing and how can I change this so that it captures everybody's experiences and works for them. The second thing I wish I would have changed, because I'm a really intuitive leader, is to trust myself and to trust my actions and my intuition and everything. And that's something that I've had to learn the hard way.
No, I mean, look, it's having that confidence. And certainly being a young leader, it's hard to have that confidence because you start questioning yourself whether you're doing the right thing. So what separates good leaders from exceptional leaders?
I think the world is full of good leaders. We all have good intentions. We all want to make a difference, have a purpose-driven organization, and all the things. I think great leaders are highly self-aware, and they are not just self-aware in general and have high efficacy, but I think they are extremely self-aware in the moment of how they're presenting themselves, of what, and also because if I'm highly self-aware, then I'm intuitively going to be aware of what's happening with the person across from me, what's happening across leadership levels and whatnot, and to understand, to have the foresight of the unintended consequences and how this one ripple will impact all those that follow.
We all are human. We are flawed, and sometimes we make mistakes. Do you have a leadership mistake that you kind of think about and
That's what I was just going to say, that the great leader knows what they're not.
Right.
I know I'm not HR. I hate rules and I hate following rules. And I am so grateful that with my with my current organization that it was, oh, wow, I'm great at designing and developing and everything. But when it comes to rules and policies and everything, no, that's not my jam. And I know that about me. I am an idealist and everything's always going to work out, and I will white knuckle it till it works out. And so I tend to overutilize that, and I, through self-awareness of being aware of, oh, wow, I need to step back because not everything is rainbows and sunshine right now.
Right.
But I have absolutely made so many leadership mistakes, and that's one of the reasons why I went into teaching, was to, I'm going to be honest and transparent and share all the things with my students.
Right. I mean, look, we all make mistakes. And at the same time, when I look at myself, and I'm sure you do today, the leader that you are today is a culmination of all the people you've worked with in the past, all the leaders you've had.
Right.
And I came from the consumer product goods world, so I probably had in my time there probably 8, 9 leaders that I learned a great deal from. And from meeting those people and working with them, I kept all the good.
Right.
And I parked on the side the bad. So a question for you about leaders. What skills do you think leaders will need in the next decade that they don't really have today?
I believe it's less, of course, AI. AI is where SHRM and other associations are closely monitoring AI and how it's impacting the workplace and impacting future roles. I think that a future leader, to be successful, they need to always have a hand in AI and be quick to adapt, quick to have the loose knees, be super flexible and everything, but also understand the human capital. One of the thing that is very consistent in the workplace is, what is this new generation teaching us? They're the ones changing the culture, and we're evolving around them. I mean, every generation has that, oh, I need to adapt to do this rather than push it out. And Gen Z is absolutely teaching us that I want purpose-driven. I want to make a difference. Most importantly, this new workforce, and I think everybody else, this new workforce in particular, wants to be seen, heard, and valued. They want to add value to the role and not just be the body that that slips into it. And so successful leaders really need to understand the dynamics of their human capital, as well as the market, what's happening around them tech-wise and everything.
I love how you've defined the Gen Z population, because I mean it's one that's really difficult to define. But I mean, look, we now have, I'm going to say the better part of 6-7 years since the Gen Z population came to be. I think it's Gen A now, the new generation. It's crazy.
Yes.
We go right back to the alphabet. We went to Z, now we're going to A. But I will say this, speaking of the future, how do leaders maintain that authentic human connection in a very increasingly digital world? And that's something that, we talked a little bit about before, that whole, trying to create culture and trying to connect with your employees. But what do you see as a leader, how they can humanize themselves and still stay connected in a very digital world?
I love this question. Number 1 is self-awareness. Number 2, which self-awareness paves the way for all of the yummy fruits. So being highly self-aware, you can show up authentically, and having the courage and vulnerability, of course, to be authentic. When I show up as my incredibly messy self, then I energetically give you permission to do so as well. You get to be your authentic self. And we that sends a signal. When I'm sitting here before you, like hyper, super, like all over the place, Ashlee, that's me. That's my authentic self, right? And that signals to you, to your CNS, to your vagus nerve, to all of your bio makeup that, I'm safe. I can put down my guard. I'm not looking for danger. I'm not defensive right now. I can be vulnerable too, which means I can be safe. And when you feel safe, all of you gets to show up. That means your huge stretch and expansion of strengths. When you don't feel safe, or when you feel like you're putting on a show or an act or performing, all of that narrows. And so internally, you're experiencing danger. Your body, your brain, your vagus nerve, all those things are saying, look for the threat, look for the threat. You are no longer thinking in the present. You are no longer thinking expansively. You are narrowing down, defaulting to your default patterns, and only accessing your overutilized strengths. And nobody wins with that. You're getting very narrow, rigid employees. And if we have a culture of vulnerability and authenticity, then you get the best of everybody.
Oh, I love that response. Now, it's so true about showing up and being authentic. I mean, people can see through that.
Absolutely.
And especially in a digital world now, people can even more see through that. And you can tell when somebody's checked out. I mean, that's the hardest thing today, right? We do Teams, we do Zoom, we do Google Meets, and we want cameras on as leaders.
Right.
And we can tell when people are really engaged. I mean, it's come a long way from those conference calls, right? When you had somebody on speaker, had the mic off, and you can multitask. But as a leader, if I'm meeting with my team, I want my team to be present. I want them to be engaged. If I'm not engaged, to your point, then they have license and they've got the ability to be disengaged themselves, right? We've given them permission to do that because we're not engaged. So we have to demonstrate to our subordinates and our people that are working for us that we're fully engaged and we are authentic. I love that answer.
And it trickles down. So if you are fully engaged and provide that space for your leaders, then what happens when they're delivering the changes, the updates, all the things to their direct reports, to their caregivers and the families and so on? They're presenting that information in a much more, at risk for overutilizing safe, but in a much more safe way, versus rigidity and one size fits all. And so the listener, you're going to have a higher transfer of information. They're going to let their guard down so they can hear what's actually being presented and get what they need out of that conversation. I mean, especially with DDD, there have been so many changes, and I expect more and more with Crush and with everything that CMS is doing. So now it's critical because our stakeholders are getting all this information firsthand, secondhand, third hand, however. And as the policies start trickling down to the agency level, how are we presenting that information and what are we like in that space? And are we a safe place for feedback to have discussions around it?
So true. All right, so we're going to pivot completely now.
All right.
And we're going to talk about Altum coaching, okay? And seriously, all the stuff that you've learned over almost 24 years is really embodied into what you're creating here with Altum and all the experiences that you've had. So why Altum?
I got a bug.
You got a bug?
This is my bug. And I started researching leadership development programs. And what and I've been to, the one-day seminars, all those things at other companies and whatnot. And what I realized was, okay, this is great information, really research-backed and fantastic information, great programs. But what happens after that individual goes home? What happens when they return to work the next Monday? And how does everything look then? And so I started looking into leadership coaching and thought, well, that's pretty cool. Is that enough? Is that what I want to go through? And after I got all the certifications and everything, I decided to create leadership development curriculum that is integrated with coaching and integrated with reflection and all of that. So we're hitting all the learning types. And through this, I'm also, let me take a quick breath over this. I'm just really excited about this.
Yeah. So
I wanted it to be a very effective, sustainable leadership development program. And so I've determined that for an effective program, you have to increase individual self-awareness. Absolutely. Because if I'm a punk going into a training, chances are I'm going to be a punk leaving that training, but hey, I got a packet. Right. And a continental lunch, right? Fantastic. And so let's increase that individual's awareness. Second, the transfer of knowledge and the behavior change must be reinforced. So if I do an ad hoc training, do I have the company's buy-in? Are they equipped to support me to implement what needs to be implemented or to really sustain that change that I want to see in myself? It has to be provided in a psychologically safe and trauma-informed approach or way. The learner has to have their guard down. They have to be we've got to lower the defenses. And lastly, it needs to be individualized. It needs to be targeted to that person's behaviors, to their patterns, and all the things.
The inspiration behind it? What just said, hey, this is what I want to do?
The tipping point was teaching those IO psychology courses, and because I've been in this niche industry for so long, I have people from all over the country in different industries. These are adult learners sharing their mostly negative, but also positive learning or positive leadership experiences with me, and I thought, this is not unique. This is across industries and across generations, and what can we do? This is an issue. What can I do to fix it in a meaningful way? So I chose the name Altum because it means greater depths as well as greater heights. And the logo is kind of mountain peak within mountain peak with a mountain peak with a mountain peak. And the idea is, once you hit the top, there's another layer, and there's another layer, and there's another layer that we continue to explore until you just feel like you've got it.
Talk about your website. Your website talks about helping leaders develop from the inside out. What does that mean?
For change to happen, it's got to be internal. I also do some career coaching. And what I've noticed, nearly all of my clients, they want a change, but there's always these internal drivers pushing that change. So I can be the same Ashlee here as I am in a new role, but I'm going to experience the same patterns and all the things that come up. And so from the inside out, if we can look at really what are those motivations, what are your default patterns, what are your overutilized strengths, how can we pause, take a beat, and watch your choices expand so that you're going for the right tool in the moment versus your overutilized one.
You know, it's interesting. You really put a lot of focus, and as a leader myself, I understand that. It's that whole self-awareness and really being vulnerable and really understanding, what makes you who you are. Mm-hmm. That is so important, and I would imagine that's one of the driving forces behind Altum.
Absolutely. I utilize the Altum arc, which is...
That was going to be my next question.
I love it. We are on the same page.
Let's talk about the Altum arc. What is that?
So the Altum arc is the learning strategy that I've employed in our modules. And the first one is discover. Let's discover how you're showing up. Your thoughts, your feels, what's coming up for you and everything. Once you see everything, like awareness, once you are fully aware, then let's move on to empower. Let's give you some tools to start working through and to utilize. And then lastly, it's transform. Now, how are you going to put this into practice? The ingenuity behind it, I believe, is we are going through real-time experiences together. So you watch an asynchronous module, and there are a lot of reflective prompts and everything after that. And then the next week, attend a session with me. Tell me what you've noticed, what's come up from work, what has changed. And so there's this accountability factor, but also this real world rehearsal, kind of following the behavioral skills approach. So everything is much more sustainable and reinforced and lasting versus just watching one module one time and hoping to see improvements.
I love it.
Thank you.
Absolutely love it. So who's the ideal client for Altum, for your coaching services?
The ideal client would be emerging leaders and middle leaders. So if an organization if they're wanting to promote somebody and they're like, you know what, you're in, we have a succession plan for you, let's go with this. Let me get my hands on them. I will make them a totally self-aware fan, like showing up in their own space authentically and just with confidence. And also for leaders who might be struggling with the human skills, with the people skills, and just overall that leadership side of the operations.
So let's take that first part.
Sure.
Okay, so and I think of Altum Coaching. I look at you and I'm thinking, okay, so I have this company and I'm promoting somebody to be a director. And, you're probably not at this phase yet, maybe you are, that your relationship as Altum Coaching could be with the company itself.
Absolutely.
Because if I'm going to bring this person to a director level, and this person might be, we'll call it a Gen Z that's only got a few years experience, but doesn't have quite those leadership skills, and I put them in a director role, now they have people that they are accountable to. Wouldn't it be ideal to say, hey, you know what, for the next 90 days, the next 180 days, you are going to be working with Ashlee Jensen from Altum Coaching to really help you. You're going to meet once a week or a couple times a week and really develop you into this leader. Is that where you see an opportunity for your services?
Absolutely. So the integrative, like the module and coaching model, that's just one service. Right. If it's essentially, let me be flexible to your company's needs. Whatever you see, and that's the gift in this, it's individualized. It's not a one size fits all. Right. We're going to make it work for your company's needs. So with this director, you might give me, I'm just going to kind of think of a quick plan. Here's the upcoming job description. This is where we see they are now with their skills. This is where we see they are now with their leadership abilities and everything, but they need to master this. And so I have different assessments and tools that I can use to kind of gauge where they are, maybe some behaviors that are behavior traits that show up in moments of tension and pressure. All right, these are opportunities to coach on, and just really help them be ready for that role. And then once they're in it, awesome. What are you seeing? What further things can we work on and let's just get our hands dirty with the process.
Are you just focusing on the healthcare vertical, or is it any vertical?
It's the same, it's any vertical. The same research and strategies apply to every human.
Okay. What surprises you most about the coaching process with people? And how do they accepting? Are they listening? What are some of the things that surprises you most?
It's a constant pivot. I had 3 sessions yesterday, and everybody was completely showed up differently, had different needs, and which I love. Tell me what you need today. What's going to be useful, right? And it is. I think what surprised me the most is how much presence matters. How much, honestly, I'm going to speak a bit candidly here. How much potential a company has to hurt people. Individuals will seek career change after a poor management experience. And it is a trauma experience. It shows up on the trauma radar. They are fractured, they are split, and they go into their new role of a fracture of who they used to be. And working through them with that process of really uncovering their strengths and helping them be comfortable and safe in their own skin again. And this is, honestly, I hate to say this, but good leaders are amazing. It's the negative experiences that really drive us and teach us. And that's what I'm passionate about is let's recover from this, dust off, recover, and put things back together so that you can really show up and shine as you truly are.
I love that. So How can coaching prevent burnout?
Coaching can prevent burnout because organizations are just so stressed. We're stretched, we're stressed in everything that, and especially with the virtual workplace, we no longer have the physical space.
Right.
I can't just walk into your office and say, oh my gosh, Bob, you won't believe the phone call I had, right? It's a lot different over the phone than it is in person, getting all that information out. And so coaching can really support that because, number one, you've got an outlet, a very confidential and ethical outlet of what to do with that information. And second of all, it's not just venting, it's all right, let's notice like how you're showing up. What patterns are you referring to in this? And let's put together a plan to really work through everything. So it is a positive moving forward strategy, but also a place for all of those ick feelings and experiences to land.
And you said this earlier. I mean, it's a safe place. So, I mean, look, you're right. We don't have the office that we can walk into and say, oh my God, you can't imagine the call I just had. Or, oh my God, I can't believe this employee did this. But it's a safe place where they could vent and have that conversation with you and be able to get that out because they need to get that out and be able to burp that so they can move on and carry on and be very productive. Because as humans, we need that. And trust me, I'm a girl dad and I employ mostly women. They want to talk about it. And we need to give them a safe place to do that.
And if I can model that for them, they can then model it for their direct reports.
100%. I know this might be a hard question, but how do you measure coaching success?
It immediately, like in the micro session, we set it. So it's a bit different than therapy, right? Therapy where you're getting a diagnosis, you're working through past issues. You're working through past issues and all the things. In coaching, you're moving forward. So in each session, we start with a goal. What is it that you want out of our session today? More of a tangible goal. And so we measure success based off of that. And depending on the relationship, if this is just a private agreement between myself and the client, then it's individual driven. If it's an agreement between Altum and an organization, then you're part of the partnership as well.
No, and that's important. And it's really important to the next question I have, and that is, how does emotional intelligence play in leadership?
Oh man. Daniel Goleman, emotional intelligence, super, super high. It's being a mom of teens and now a young adult. I have seen them navigate sports and clubs and school, with the teachers and all the adults present in their life. And I've seen really positive influences as well as, but mostly positive influences. And likewise myself, I've seen it I've either witnessed or I have experienced it myself. And those that are highly emotionally intelligent just get it. They get why I'm upset because XYZ happened. I'm not just a number on a paper. They get the importance of relationship. They get the impact of any decision and what it's going to have on individuals.
It's being authentic.
Right. And they allow, they're going to allow imperfect, messy Ashlee to show up as myself.
Right. All right, so here's another question for you. Why is trust so important in organizations?
Oh my goodness. Thank you for asking this. Because it signals safety and it signals I see you and I hear you. If I trust you, I give you permission to trust yourself. If I get cues from you that you don't trust me, I'm going to completely shut down and show up as a fracture of my best self.
And that was going to be my next question. What happens when it does break down? And yes, that's exactly what happens. Is there a connection between healthy leaders and healthy organizations?
100%, not a doubt in my mind. And that's one of the reasons why I think Arion has done so well is their leaders are just top shelf.
What have you seen as signs of, or should I say warning signs of a dysfunctional culture?
Less accountability, and starting with the leaders. Leaders must be accountable for all the things. We've got to have accountability. We've got to have integrity, and we also need to empower. I forgot what the question was. I just started rambling.
Some of the warning signs?
Warning signs is, are you accountable? Is this a blame culture? Is this, what are the vibes? What's going on? Are we, because the blame game starts at the top. And when it gets down to those critical middle manager, middle leader levels, it is just toxic after that.
Well, and for me, what I've seen over the years and helping coach home care agencies is the fact that it becomes dysfunctional when you don't give them the forum. It's amazing that people don't have meetings with their team members, and they just expect everyone to do everything, and they try to manage it by calling them out when they do something wrong rather than giving them the forum to talk about it and open up and talk about issues and maybe even development stuff and sharing what's going on with clients and caregivers and everything in between.
Healthy communication. When we see dysfunctional communication is just one-sided, I'm giving you this information, or it's triangulated. But having that healthy space where we can freely share updates and also receive feedback on everything. It's safe to give feedback, right? So incredibly healthy. So seeing those meetings happen at all levels, generally the entire company. We want to see it in teams. But I think the most important space is between that leader and their direct report and how that one-on-one is going. Some leaders revert to, hey, it's your one-on-one, give me your report, and I'm going to tell you all the things. No, this one-on-one is really a two-way feedback session.
Dialogue, not a
it's monologue. A dialogue. Tell me how you're experiencing me. Am I the leader? Am I supporting you in how you need support? Because the other 10 people, this is what's working for them. Am I supporting you? And if not, what needs to happen?
Oh, I love that. Absolutely love that. What can leaders do tomorrow morning to improve the team's performance? People that are listening and watching here today, what would you recommend that they do?
I just reverted to little kid Ashlee. I'm like, a sucker. I love suckers. Give me a sucker. I think high engagement. Be highly engaged and not in a policeman sort of way. You're not looking for problems. You're looking for what's going right. And you're encouraging and you're seeing, oh gosh, when you see somebody doing something right, even if it's pretty dang small, acknowledge it and let them know in a way that works for them. But just see what's happening and see your team members.
So we talked about AI. What do you think coaching will evolve to, and what role will AI play in leadership and coaching now and over the next 10 years?
Right now, we're seeing a lot of platforms that utilize AI to store the information, to capture the coaching conversation and to store it, and to also provide prompts for the coach to there are so many different coaching formulas. Let's use this formula, plug it into here, and now the coach is having prompts to stay in alignment with the company. But they're also developing technology for just an AI coach, yes, if that works. I mean, I can't tell you how much I use ChatGPT as my coworker because I call him Q because he's everything I'm not. Right? I'm like...
For people that don't know, James Bond.
Right. Like when James Bond walks in and starts breaking gadgets, that's me.
Yeah.
And Q keeps me in line. And so I will go to Q and say, hey, I'm thinking about X, Y, and Z. Help me scale this back help me, how does this message relay to, or how will our stakeholders translate this message, right? So I use Q as my coworker. And AI is transforming the coaching world in the same way. We can now, I know there are programs coming up where I can have an AI coach.
Yeah, and the future is really amazing.
Yes.
I have a guest that's going to be on in a couple of weeks. He's been on before, Ben Lytle, and he's got a company called The Art Project. And I actually mentioned your name to him because we could build with AI an alter ego for you, where you've put all your information in there, and when you can't be available, Ashlee Jensen's alter ego can be available.
Let's do it.
How cool is that, right?
Oh, I love it because
because you can't scale.
I can't scale. And there are bits and pieces of coaching that I have to like strap myself to the chair to complete the process. I love the engagement and I love the session, but I have to keep notes and I have to like keep documentation and update everything. If I could just have AI or somebody come in and do that for me, oh gosh, yes.
No, I love that. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions on coaching, and then we're going to go to rapid fire.
Okay.
So if you could give one piece of advice to a new leader, what would that be?
I'm trying to take me out of this, what I would want to know, but I think it's, what value do you bring? What value does your leader need from you? What does your leader need to succeed? What does the organization need to succeed? And what value are you bringing? And what do you need? What do you need from your leader to really help bring that out?
What legacy do you hope to leave with the work that you're doing?
My favorite part of my leadership journey has been just helping people. All you do is just help line up some of the pieces, the light goes on for them, and they take off and soar. And I'm getting kind of emotional with this, but watching people step into their own and just take up space in the right space at the right time where they're just doing what they love is the biggest gift I have ever received. And I just want to keep helping people with that.
I love that.
Thank you.
So, rapid fire questions.
Let's do
it. This is a great time for us to get to know Ashlee, well, on a personal level, but professional level as well. But, I always enjoy this part, and I know Elias, our producer, enjoys this as well, because he gets a chance to hear how our guests respond. And these questions, some are very, let's put it this way, require thought before you respond, and some are really quick. So we'll start with the quick and easy one. Coffee or tea?
I have to say neither, and I would like to add a third, a Slurpee.
A Slurpee?
Yes.
Wow.
Good old 7-Eleven Slurpee. You can't beat those.
Wow. It's that sugar rush.
Totally. Pina colada mixed with cherry.
Oh, there you go. Well, if you want to get to Ashlee Jensen's heart, pina colada mixed with cherries.
But I'm 44, so make it diet.
Make it diet. There you go. Well, I don't think it has to do with age. So that's just me speaking. Morning person or night owl?
I am definitely a morning person. That is when my laser focus turns on. And after 2, oh my gosh, you can't get 2 words out of me that are coherent.
So for our listeners, it's 1:03 right now. So we're good. We're going to wrap up this way before 2.
Perfect timing.
But I'm so glad we didn't do this after 2 o'clock. Favorite vacation destination?
I'm kind of a homebody, and lately my go-to has been the beach. There's something about doing nothing and just like peripherally hearing the kids fight, scream, play, whatever they're doing, being next to my husband and just listening to the waves. I could just be there all day.
Is there a favorite spot you go to?
We frequent Mission Beach.
There you go.
And it's fantastic. Sometimes my older sister will meet us down there, and just her and I, and oh yeah, I won't say all the naughty things that we do while we're, but it's just so much fun just to chill.
Right. Oh, absolutely. You need that. So what's the favorite book you've read over the last year?
This has been a bit more than a year ago, but Cloud Cuckoo Land, and I'm forgetting the other one that he wrote, but it's A Light Through All Things or something like that. And it is it's a literary masterpiece. It's combining multiple time frames and time periods with multiple characters' perspectives. And I love seeing characters, what shines out of them, how they show up in different spaces, what strengths are, I know, I'm such a geek.
Was it fictional or not fictional?
It's fictional, right.
Nice.
All the light we cannot see. That's what it is. It's
All the
based
light
off
we
of
can-
World War II.
Wow.
And so you see all these complex characters from both sides of the war, of the battle line, and just how they navigate all these things. So you have these negative characters that are so complex and actually have good things and everything, and then all these great characters navigating their own stuff, and some dark starts coming out. But I just love work like that.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And I'm going to ask you from a leadership standpoint, what book would you recommend everyone should read?
The book that completely set me on this journey was by Amy Edmondson, I think it's Psychological Safety in the Workplace. And it's coming from a psychologist perspective of what the ROI is. Like, if we just look at all the errors we're going to minimize, look at how teams show up together, look how everything functions so much more beautifully, all because we're kinder, we're nicer, we're allowing feedback, and we're allowing people to feel good.
No, thank you for sharing that one as well. Biggest influence in your life?
Aha! I have two. One would be my former, I'm going to say current mentor. He's never going to get off the hook, but Ryan Reed, the founder of Arion Care. I started with him when I first moved down to Arizona 24 years ago, and he took me under his wing and just showed me all the things. And I think the most meaningful thing about our relationship is that he just truly saw me for I'm a weirdo, all the quirks that I have and everything. And he always kept me in the realm where I would shine. And my second one is my daughter. She is 17 and has been a trailblazer of all things. And she first showed up in the sports space as the only female on a baseball team, then the only female on a football team, then the only female on a tackle team, and all the things. And she's now playing flag football with female players, but the fortitude, she's overcome a gazillion injuries because she goes in so hard. So the recovery and the fortitude she has, but most importantly, she shows up unashamed of who she is. Unapologetically, this is what you get, and you get the same figure every time. And she is so confident in her own skin that she just attracts so many people to her because she's so safe to be around. And we're planning her college and what comes next and everything. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, don't sell yourself short. Like, you really, really need to be in the leadership space because you will just transform whatever space you land in.
I can tell how that really moves you.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing that too. It's amazing what we learn from our children.
Oh, they're such a gift.
They really are. And I'm so glad you shared that with us. Thank you. What is something that people would be surprised to learn about Ashlee Jensen?
Oh, wow. I get the zoomies every night, like a puppy.
Like a puppy.
Like a puppy.
I'm thinking of my dog. So you run around in circles?
I will scream, Alexa, and I'll just random music from the 90s or random music from musicals from the 70s that I grew up on in the 80s and whatever, and I'll do this giant performance for my kids for about 30 seconds, and then it's over.
I love that. Zoomies. That's
Yes.
so cool. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Be brave. Be brave and be bold.
Be brave and bold.
Yeah.
I love that too. One thing that's still on your bucket list. You jumping out of planes?
No.
Why would you, right? Perfectly
No.
good flying plane.
I don't know what is on my bucket list. all of mine are pretty sarcastic and cynical, what I want to do with my kids as they continue to live at home, right? So I won't go into that.
So letting go, this is going to be really hard for you.
Well,
with your daughter going on to college.
Yeah, I think hers is going to be, because she's definitely not staying in state, and I will miss the bust in my room at the end of a game or the end of a shift or whatever, and just telling us all the things, and she's on fire and I'm half asleep. I will absolutely miss that. I think though, I'm a simple lady. There's this hike that I used to go on. It was my escape hike when I felt really overwhelmed as a teen, and I just want to go back and do that and just be there by myself for however long and turn around. And I think this is taking another turn. That's where I would meet my dad again. He passed away a few years ago, and there are these little moments where we're together again, and he's the one that tells me to be brave. And those are the places where I find him again.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you.
No, I really do. And that trail, is it here?
No, it's in where I'm from in Salt Lake City.
Okay, nice. If you could have dinner with anyone, living or deceased, who would that be?
Oh, gosh. I read John Adams by David, I'll say David M., a few years ago, and I'm watching the miniseries from HBO. I'm rewatching. I watched it 10 or so years ago, and I love him so much.
Adams. Wow.
John Adams. And I would love, because he was so outspoken and so incredibly self-aware. He solicited help from so many people where he wasn't strong, like Jefferson and Washington and everybody. And just to hear the report on all the things and what he noticed and how he problem solved and all that. He is just such an incredible individual.
Wow. Thank you for sharing.
I know that's so random.
And that was so random, but that was so cool. I love it. What are you most grateful for today?
I have had the most incredible support system throughout my leadership journey, and all the ebbing and flowing. And I'm grateful for the systems that were in place to catch me when I needed it, to boost me up when I needed that as well. But I think most importantly, I'm just grateful for my husband and my kids. They have been my biggest fans. And part of me is like, but you don't know different. But they're the coolest. And I always have their support, and they're so different.
Weirdo Ashlee.
They tolerate the weirdo Ashlee. I don't think they love it, but it's what they have.
Yeah, I love that. I really, really do. What does successful aging look like to you?
Absolutely. I will say anything that rings true to that person's chemistry, I guess. So organic, like graceful, organic, in line with their energy and alignment. That's what I'm looking for. So if if I could choose, I would just age right into my bed and go to sleep, right? And so aging at home with natural supports and just surrounded by love and having access to what I need to have access to, whether that's telehealth or pushing a button on a prescription bottle to remind me of something, just something that is tailored and works for me.
How does Ashlee Jensen want to be remembered?
I don't know, part of me is like a blaze of glory out of the cannon. But really, I want to be remembered as somebody who would sit with you in the dark. That when you are in the most, however that looks, when you are in that moment, that Ashlee wasn't afraid, and she would just sit next to me and just let me be.
Thank you. This part, the personal and professional, rapid fire questions. You learn a lot about your guests, and to me, this was great. I mean, I really appreciate you being vulnerable, being authentic, and being real.
You brought it all out.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to thank you for joining us today, but I also want to give our listeners and our viewers ways to get a hold of Ashlee Jensen and Altum Coaching. I know the website is altumcoaching.com.
Yes.
And that's ALTUM coaching.com. You can also find you on LinkedIn.
Yes.
What are other ways they can contact you?
You can email me, definitely, all over the website, all over altumcoaching.com. You can schedule appointments. You can schedule a consult or a session with me. You can also reach out to my email there. My direct email is Ashlee, Ashlee. It's so phonetically spelled. I love it so much. Ashlee at altumcoaching.com.
Ashlee, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing a lot about not only what you're doing in coaching, but your DNA and what makes up you. I love how real and authentic you are, how vulnerable you are, and I'm so proud to have you as not only my guest, but my friend.
Oh, Bob.
Ashlee Jensen, thank you for joining me at Health Futures. Make it a great day. Have a great weekend. We'll be back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit cypresshomecare.com.